you are adding this to your tool bag. So MMA, money-making activities. The only thing that matters in insurance, which has made me over 400 grand a year on my own PIN every single year, and has grown me a multiple seven-figure insurance agency in 2.5 to 3 years by making sure agents are doing money-making activities. Okay, and those money-making activities, the only thing that matters is dialing, presenting to prospects, door knocking if you're running face-to-face, and recruiting. Those are the only 4 things. So door knocking, if you're face-to-face or tele, so it doesn't matter, this all counts. Door knocking, presenting, dialing, recruiting if you're making an interview. Okay, or, I'm sorry, if you're trying to grow an agency. Those are the only 4 things that matter. If you are doing anything outside of that, do not tell me you're working all day. Do not tell me that's part of your working hours, because it's not. You need to find time aside to call the carrier, sure, if you have an underwriting thing, obviously, but you need to make sure your goals are set first and your numbers are hit. You need to eat your veggies and dinner before you can have your dessert. And you checking on the underwriting status of something is your dessert that you're not ready for, because you haven't hit enough dials yet to even do that. You haven't presented to enough people to do that, okay? Or you haven't hit enough door knocks to do that, okay? So you got to hit something, do something first before you can do that. You got to eat your dinner before you can have your dessert. Everything outside of that does not matter. So when tracking your hours, and you say you work 40 hours a week, how many hours are going to dialing, prospecting, recruiting, or door knocking? If 15 hours are going to everything else and you're not tracking this and you need to be, then you're not making money, and we figured out why. It's pretty simple. You got to do those 4 things. If you do not do those 4 things, you will not make money in this industry. Once you start doing those 4 things, at least 30 to 40 hours a week, I promise you, you will see a big change in income. So stop calling the carriers, stop calling follow-ups who are in underwriting. Stop looking at underwriting and learning the process of it. Stop trying to learn all the products. Do that when you're off and you're clocked out at nighttime or sitting on a toilet. Do it then, okay? If you have to use the restroom, call the carrier then. If you have to drive to the store or drive to your appointments, call the carriers on your drive time. Make it fast. Call a client to get them back on the book during your drive time or something. Call a client on the weekend. Do that outside of your hours when you're not hitting your bare minimum hours. If you can hit 40 hours of doing that, your whole business and you will change, and you will start actually printing money into this business. So that is the number 1 thing that you need to do, is make sure you're doing money-making activities. If you're not doing money-making activities, nothing else matters, and you are not allowed to complain that you're not making money because you're not working. If you think about it, if you were clocked into a job at a 9 to 5 and you had 4 tasks that you have to do every single day, and every single day you have these 4 different tasks. So let's say you worked for an insurance company and I paid you a salary. If I told you your job duties are these 4 things: dialing, prospecting, door knocking if you're face-to-face, or recruiting. If you're not doing anything outside of that, what do you think happens at 9 to 5 if you're not actually doing your job? So if you're going and ducking off in the break room to call your wife or your girlfriend, and I catch you, I'm going to fire you once you do that so many times. So why are you guys doing it to your own business? It's the same thing. You run your own business and you are paying yourself. So your business needs to come first, and you need to make sure that you're hitting those, okay? So if I hired you only and I paid you 100 grand to 200 grand, 300 grand a year to do these 4 different things, that's it. I need to do 4 things for 40 hours a week, and I gave you $400,000 a year. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I catch you doing anything outside of that, I'm not going to pay you 400 grand a year anymore. I'm either going to fire you, demote you. Doesn't matter, because I'm not paying. I only asked you to do 4 things, dude. You can't do 4 things for your business, or you can't do 4 things on my job that I'm paying you $400,000 a year for. You can't do those 4 things, and that's where you guys struggle at, not being able to do those 4 things alone for 40 hours a week. I am not paying you to call the carriers for underwriting. I am not paying you to always call the carriers and wait on hold for 30 minutes. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done, but I'm saying you need to find time for that after hitting your 4 top things. Or maybe have your wife or girlfriend or somebody call for you. People can call on behalf of the carriers for you sometimes. Find time in your downtime if you're driving. Maybe if you're on track or if you start earlier at 7 a.m. and start dialing, you can book an extra 5 appointments from 7 to 8. Maybe at 9, you can make that time back up to call the carriers. Something like that, you can find ways in, but you need to eat your dinner and eat your veggies before you can have your dessert. For me, the way my schedule is dial from 7 a.m. to about 1 or 2 p.m. At 3 p.m., because during that time frame for me, I get a little bit less pickups. I don't book as many appointments in that time frame. Sometimes I don't book any, and I make sure I have enough dials in because I'm on track, and I make sure I have enough appointments by that time frame. That is on my calendar to now call carriers, call retention to save anybody who fell off the book of business or whatever you need to do outside of those 4 things. Is that time frame now. From that 3 to 4 for me is when I do it. But that's my time because I know my schedule and I know my numbers and I tracked it good enough. So for anybody right now, you got to find time to squeeze that in to where it's not messing up your schedule. I see a lot of agents who sit there and do the things outside of it. They build illustrations all day. They work on IUL illustrations all day. They're sitting there calling underwriting and studying underwriting. They're sitting there calling clients all day who fell off the book of business, and you guys are calling it work. It's not work. You guys are not working. The top 4 things for work is dialing, recruiting, prospecting, and door knocking. If you are not doing those things, you're not working, and I'm going to fire you from my job if you were an employee. And you should fire yourself from your job as your employee because you are doing yourself a disservice. Why are you guys working harder to make somebody else rich who's above you than for yourself? A lot of people come into this industry and they work less hard than they did at the 9 to 5. And they will do more stuff at the 9 to 5, but they won't do as much stuff here. You get paid more the more you work. So the more money making activities you do, the more you will get paid. If you can find a way to do 40 hours of money making activities and your goal is to make 6+ figures a year, I promise you there's no absolutely way you will not do it if you're doing money making activities alone for 40 hours a week.